Brandis, a new study out of the University of Chicago says air pollution takes more than 2 years off of the average human's lifespan. That's more than causes like smoking, communicable disease, and war. Now, the study is out of the U of C's Air Quality Life Index and concludes the shortened life expectancy is due to particulate matter in the air from burning fossil fuels and other sources. While global COVID shutdowns temporarily provided clean air in different parts of the world, the new research underscores the exacerbating effects of climate change on air pollution. And joining us now with more is Ken Lee, Director of University of Chicago's Air Quality Life Index and a Senior Research Associate at the Department of Economics. Ken Lee, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, so your research concludes that air pollution takes 2 years off of the average human's lifespan. Explain those findings.
Sure. Well, as you mentioned, the most dangerous form of air pollution is PM 2.5. This is primarily caused by fossil fuel combustion. PM 2.5 are ultrafine particles that are suspended in the air and can enter our lungs and our bloodstream, causing all sorts of health issues. In fact, researchers have been showing for decades that breathing polluted air leads to a higher risk of dying from a variety of conditions like heart disease, lung cancer, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and others. But in many parts of the world, awareness of this issue is still relatively low. And this is especially the case in developing countries where PM 2.5 particulate pollution levels can be many times higher than the levels that we typically experience here in North America and in Europe.
And PM 2.5, also called particulate matter. In the United States, the problem has gotten better over the decades, has it not? How bad is it here?
That's right. Well, actually, the U.S. On average is a pretty clean country compared to the rest of the world. There was a time in the late 60s, early 70s when air pollution was a huge issue in the U.S. But the U.S. was largely able to address extreme air pollution through the U.S. Clean Air Act and essentially very effective clean air policies.
So the average American is not having their lifespan shortened very much compared to other parts of the country. And you talk about India, China, those are areas that have really bad pollution. So how many years can the average human living there expect to have taken off at the end of their life because of pollution?
Right. Well, 82% of the world's population lives in areas where particulate pollution exceeds the WHO guideline of 10 micrograms per cubic meter. So in parts of South Asia or much of South Asia, PM 2.5 is on average roughly 70 micrograms per cubic meter. So that's 7 times higher than the WHO guideline. Globally, the average PM 2.5 concentration in 2019 was about 32 micrograms per cubic meter, so more than 3 times the WHO guideline. And so when we talk about air pollution, the questions that many people have are, number one, how bad is the air pollution in my country or in my own community, the community where I live? And number two, how is air pollution affecting my health and my life expectancy? So to sort of explain where these numbers come from, our team at the Energy Policy Institute at the University of Chicago created something called the Air Quality Life Index, the AQLI, which is essentially a website that combines highly localized satellite-derived PM 2.5 data all across the world with academic economics research that quantifies the causal effect of sustained exposure to high pollution concentrations on life expectancy. And so we put those two things together into an interactive map that lets users or people zoom into any part of the world and view how the average pollution level has changed over time, what the current average pollution PM 2.5 level is, and then more importantly, answer the hypothetical question, how much longer would people live if this level of pollution were brought down to the WHO standard of 10 micrograms per cubic meter? And so when you do that globally, the AQLI shows that if pollution concentrations across the world could be brought to the WHO guideline, the average person would live 2.2 years longer.
All right, so what are the solutions? And you actually mentioned in your report that China, which has had big-time air pollution problems, especially in its biggest cities, has actually turned the corner a bit.
So in China, in the 2000s or so, China was consistently one of the top 5 most polluted countries in the world. But around that time, around the time of the Beijing Olympics, awareness of this issue, public concern about that issue began to increase to the point that there was a lot of pressure on the government of China to do something. In 2013, pollution levels in Beijing had peaked at around 70 micrograms per cubic meter, 7 times higher than the WHO standard. And what happened was the following year in 2014, the premier of China announced a war against pollution, and they directed hundreds of billions of dollars to address the problem. They set very bold pollution reduction targets, especially in key areas like Beijing. They required some of their existing coal plants to reduce their emissions or to switch to natural gas. They even built pollution reduction incentives into the promotion plans for local government officials. So they had a host of policies, and as a result, China's seen a decline of roughly 30% in its PM 2.5 between 2013 and 2019. And if you take the AQI results literally, that translates into about 1.5 years of a life expectancy gain for the average Chinese citizen as a result of those reductions.
So that's a promising sign for the most populous country on Earth, and the fact that your study puts it in such stark life and death terms, perhaps that raises awareness about air pollution as well. All right, we're out of time. Our thanks to Ken Lee. Thank you so much.
Thank you.